Good evening. Today's lab, we're going to be focusing on a few different things. The way I would best summarize it is Identity and Access Management 101. So we're going to configure I&AM, and we'll do that by reviewing a little bit of the general security policies that we have in place for this organization. And then we'll configure some permissions for our file systems. And then we'll use a password cracking utility. We'll try to. This is an area that I haven't explored too much and kind of excited about it, but also kind of nervous to see where it goes. So hopefully we hit a few road bumps and we're curious at the end of the day, at worst, but at best, I'm hoping to get a little bit closer to figuring it out. And then we'll also do a little bit of certificate management. So let's get right into it. And while that's loading up, let's take a look at the password policy. This is the first of a few different policies that we have. So the password will be changed every 60 days. It may not be changed more frequently than every 1 day. Passwords must be at least 12 characters in length, and they need to meet complexity requirements, and they cannot be reusing the last 20 passwords, any of those, right? So users need to come up with some new passwords. We'll get right into it. So we'll get into group policy management. Okay. There we go. And over here, we can actually see that we have two existing group policy objects. We have the 515 support domain policy, and then we have default domain policy. So we're going to edit the default domain policy since it's already selected. And we're going to sync up our password and account lockout requirements in here. So as mentioned earlier, we have these things to kind of go through. The first bullet point, and that is what this encompasses. So we'll go through that step by step. Password history, we need to set that to 20 days. Okay, password age, we'll cap that at 60 per the policy. Okay, and then the age, the minimum password age set to 1 day already. The length, we need that to be at 12. Okay. And then complexity requirements is already enabled, so we're all good there. Okay. And now we want to look at account lockout policy. So the lockout duration is not yet defined. We need for that to be at 10 minutes. This is the second bullet point. Accounts will be locked out for 10 minutes if an incorrect password is entered more than 3 times. this is a pretty standard policy that we need in most environments, um, if not all. It will help prevent brute forcing. You don't want someone to have 100, you know, automatic brute force attempts and eventually getting to the correct password. They will eventually get to it, but this deterrent control is something that will make people think twice before even attempting. So 10 minutes. Cool. Yes. And then we need 3 invalid login attempts. And then that's at 10. So we are good. Now let's go back into group policy and we'll look at the 515 domain policy. We're going to look at local policies instead of account policies. And let's get into security options. So over here, we're going to be focusing on these 3. Local guest user accounts will be disabled. Okay. We don't want someone being able to get into our network using a guest user account. So if we can just lock it out completely, why not? So let's do that real quick. So disabled, apply, okay. Interactive logon is another thing that we need to look out for. Right here. And we also don't want the username of the last person that has logged in to be displayed. I always found it weird that these were settings that, you know, administrators had put in place, but I've worked in a clinical environment and I've seen on workstations on wheels where, you know, 5 different nurses are touching a workstation and it always has the last person's login in there. There's, you know, units where 20, 30 people are working and sometimes you'll see that. I think usernames are definitely something that we need to pay a little more attention to in terms of security. So yeah, interactive logon. Let's get on that. Interactive logon, do not display. Yes, that's already disabled. Great. And then interactive logon, not controlled message. So this is the very last bullet point right here. Warning, authorized use only. Well, that's where we need for it to be. Warning. And then we want for this to be let's make it all caps. Cool. Okay, so that's that. And in order for these policy updates to take effect, we actually need to update the group policy. Nothing changes like this. We need for our group policies to actually initialize on our network and within our system. So we can do that manually with GP update. And I need to run that as an admin. Can't forget about that. Okay. Can't remember. Okay, so GP update force, and that forces the update. And we'll actually run this twice because once is never really effective enough. You don't want to come back and do it again. We'll actually export those updates that we just did as well. So there we go. We're going to export that result, and that's where it is. And that report tells us all the different things that we just did. Okay. So the next thing we want to work on is the managing of Windows permissions. So we want to manage user access to data on this Windows server, and I'm going to create two folders inside the C drive. And just for examples purpose, we're just going to go with the idea that these folders are shared organizational directories that other people also have access to within our enterprise network. So sales data is one folder, and then we're going to create another one called IT data. Okay. Now, Helpdesk has sent us a incident, and they need for a user named Bobby to be a member of the sales group. And the sales group needs modify permissions to the sales data folder that we just now created. So let's get into Active Directory. And we'll add Bobby to sales. Whoops. So he is now a member of sales. Now, inside of the file directory, we want the sales data folder to reflect the requirement from earlier. So we want to add sales to this. And we want to give them access to modify things within that directory. And then the IT data folder, let's say help desk also forwarded a ticket to us stating that a user named Sam should be explicitly denied access to that IT data folder. Now, you'll notice there's a prompt that comes up when we do things like this. Hypothetically, let's say this user Sam is already a part of the administrator group, right? He's a administrator who's currently going through training, and we don't want him inside of these folders just yet, on the off chance that he does some damage. So we want for him to not have access to this, right? So Sam, sorry dude, we're gonna deny all access. You're setting a deny permission entry, and we just need to understand that this deny takes precedence over anything else. Yes. Cool. So that's pretty much it as far as the Active Directory basics go. Next thing we want to do, we want to get into the Linux permissions. Same thing we did in Windows, but we want to do it through the terminal inside of Kali. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to create a user, okay? And I'm going to call this user Floyd. And we're going to give him the same password I've been using all day. Not the best security practice, but this is a simulation. Okay. So Floyd has been created. We've given him default everything. Another big no-no in actual security, but Floyd exists. That's what matters. And we're also going to create a group called sales. Okay? So okay. And then let's see where we are real quick. We're probably en route. So, oh, no. Okay, so inside of root, we want to create this directory called sales info. Sales info is right there now. We're going to give Floyd ownership of sales info and the sales group as the associated group. So we're going to change the ownership. We'll do that. Try that again. Let's create a file inside of sales info first. right? So sales info, change directory root ls. We can see sales info exists. So we're gonna try this all over again. So we'll do that once more because why not? Now it works. Okay, and if we run root, let's get inside sales info and let's just see. Cool. So that's that. And then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to give Floyd ownership of the sales info as we tried to do earlier. And we know that the folder exists now. So we've also associated the sales group with sales info. Now, we want Floyd to have rewrite, modify permissions, and sales group with read write, and all others with no access to the sales info directory and everything within. So we do that by issuing the following: read write modify right. Okay. Okay. And then that's pretty much it as far as Linux permissions go. It's not as GUI as the Windows environment, but it is exactly what you need right then and there. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to audit a user password. And as I had mentioned earlier, this is something that I haven't done before. So I'm just going to go through my instructions side by side and kind of try to get in the feel of it at least. Okay, so we're in root and we're gonna create an account named Bobby. Okay, so add user Bobby. Bobby is essentially a ghost, and we've given him defaults for everything. And what we're going to do, we're going to extract a word list file by using the gungunzip command. So okay, we're going to open this rocku.txt file with vim. Okay. Let's get out of Vim real quick. Escape. Okay. And we'll edit now. We should be able to essentially add the password that we had used for our newly created user, Bobby, right there. And we're using it here because it's an easily guessable password. Shouldn't be used. Okay. And now we're going to try to create a text file of the username, usernames, and password hashes. So shadow oops. Okay. Okay. And then we're gonna crack the passwords. So John the Ripper, show crack this file passwords audit test. So we're going to crack the passwords and store them in a file called password audit.txt. If we went back and inside of Vim we wanted to add something else, we can always overwrite it by just doing two of those. Cool. So display the password audit.txt. Now what we're doing here, we're just going to display the hashes that have been cracked. So there's 3 left. 0 cracked. So I think we fulfilled the objective for the exercise, but I want to go back and actually try to crack a password. I don't know if this is something that I need to modify as far as the steps go. Maybe I overlooked, but I'm curious. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to request a server certificate. So let's get back in the Windows box and log in. And we want to get into the Internet Information Services IIS Manager console. Okay, so server certificates, we want to create a domain certificate. Okay, and that common name is going to be updates.corp.515support.com. 515 support is the organizational name. OU, we're the web team in this use case, and we're located in the cloud. Everything's in the cloud. And our friendly name cool. And it'll take a few moments to request and grant that certificate, after which we will go ahead and bind it with the site. Okay, so default website. Let's just Just make sure we're not skipping any steps. I'm still thinking about the last lab. Definitely want to go back and take a look at that again. So we're going to edit bindings. And in here, we're actually going to add HTTPS, that host name, same one we used earlier in the certificate, and SSL certificate right here. I think we should be good. And then we're just going to get rid of HTTP right here. Remove, yes. We haven't. Cool. That's that. And then we'll go ahead and test it out. So in here, go ahead and do. You're about to view a web page over a secure connection. Any information you exchange with the site cannot be viewed by anyone else on the web. Love it. Cool. And we should see the site. 515 support user portal. Great. Well, that just about covers the objectives for today. I definitely want to start doing a little more on the password cracking side of things. Hashing, password cracking, brute forcing password attacks, that's an area that I wonder about quite a bit, but this definitely got the curiosity flowing, so that'll probably be the next lab. I'll do some poking around and figure out how to do that properly. I'm out for the day, so thank you for tuning in. See you guys next one.